You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. And right now, new customers can bet only $5. And if your bet wins, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the FanDuel app today. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you. And on today's episode, a couple of different things to get to. Seeing some odds rolling in from a couple of different fronts as far as Big 12 favorites when it comes to hoops. Just around the corner, Red Raiders on the move this week, as a matter of fact, with some media day experiences to take part in. But as I sit here and think about it as a Tech hoops fan, I'm thinking about a team and a season I could not, I don't think literally, be any more excited for. But in the league, we're looking up. I got questions. We'll get to that coming up in just a moment. But also as it pertains to this weekend, of course, still deciphering a situation that remains up in the air, and that is the Texas Tech QB situation. Questionable, probable, doubtful, anything in between. We're still left to define many of these terms for ourselves this week, Chris, when it comes to the ever-changing and ongoing, it seems like, availability report. I think there's one angle to this QB thing that is not up in the air, and that involves the trenches, and I want to get to that in just a moment. But first, whenever it comes to these quarterbacks, I know it's just the question that will not die, it seems like, this season, certainly in recent weeks, wondering who we're going to see on Saturday, and seems like it remains fluid, to say the least.
Yeah, as you saw last night, Baron Morton listed as questionable on the availability report. And, you know, I felt a little better about Baron's situation initially as the week began. I think here's your dilemma, okay? And this is us not really knowing all of the medicals or, hey, man, how do you feel? We don't know the answers to those questions. But here's really what you're weighing here is it's the whole, okay, one, what is the issue? How does he feel? Where are we at with it? What are they saying? Can it be re-injured? What percentage are you? I mean, all the things. Just spin the wheel and pick a dynamic there. And you weigh that, and if you've got a clear-cut answer on some of that isn't obvious, then you go, okay, well then why are we even debating this? You just sit tight. We need you right, because the best scenario is, as we've seen, is Barron starting and Will being available and being able to come in if needed, or being sprinkled in or whatever. Is that having both options available? And I'm not trying to disrespect Oklahoma State. The one benefit that you would gain from Barron playing this weekend is the rhythm component that Joey really harped on earlier in the year. And I know Mac Leftwich has said this because we've talked about this on the radio broadcast before. He's always been a believer in as a player, and then as a play caller and a QB coach, and in his years of coaching. And yet he's still obviously young, but he's been doing this a while. If your starting quarterback is available, that's who plays. Okay. And I think there's with the asterisk on an emergency available only kind of thought process. So are you really available? And so this is where you're at. This all just points to Manhattan, Kansas. You are trying to put your best foot forward, and like they can't talk about this aloud and disrespect Oklahoma State, and you don't want to assume anything because crazy things have happened and the like. It would take a lot for Oklahoma State to sustain 60 minutes and be better than you on Saturday. So this is really about what's best for the big picture. It's about what's best for the Kansas State game. And if more rest or having him closer to 100% or having him 100%, if you feel that's best, I bet you don't see him. If he's right or close to right, and the rhythm component is a real thing, and they feel like, okay, let's just get him so we're not going in cold versus Kansas State, then at that point you follow the script that we tried to write earlier in the week. Our Martin Scorsese best. But it's not, neither is going to surprise me. But I guess as the week goes along, you just wonder if this is a Will Hammond game now as opposed to Baron Morton, because he's listed questionable. Because this is what he was listed at all last week, and obviously did not play. If it was his game, I think he'd be probable or not on the deal at all. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I guess I'm gonna defer to the way it was listed last week and think that this is maybe Will Hammond's game, and you're really just pointing toward getting number 2 right, getting him healthy, because Baron, Joey, Will, that I'll tell you, we got a lot of football still to play here, and potentially very meaningful football.
If there was any mystery to utilize to your advantage, I would just continue to do it because you could. So I don't know, whether if it was known on Monday that he was good to go, I'd probably still be throwing him in one of these categories by the time Wednesday showed up, if I was the head coach. But I would also say that it's so strange how these tables can turn so quickly, because I'm thinking about a somewhat similar storyline, and I don't know exactly how similar because I don't know all the ins and outs of Sam Levitt's recent weeks and months. But, going into that weekend last week, Chris, and we're talking all week about Levitt is going to be out there, and, well, it was maybe more of a decision than we thought when it comes to going to Utah and him being out there or not. But he's going to play against Texas Tech, and I'm thinking, boy, what a sad state of affairs. They must be in shambles to have to be doing things this way rolling into this game, and then all of a sudden it's back around, and strangely the inverse competitively. Like, it sounded like there was some thought in the desert, like, oh, do we take him to Utah to this potential buzzsaw? Meanwhile, it's the opposite here. Like, oh, do you roll him out against Oklahoma State?
And that's, I think you've nailed it. Because what if the Kansas State game was this weekend? I think we may be having a different conversation.
That's so dicey too, man. That's sort of tempting fate area in a way, I guess.
Yeah. I think because you have a luxury of a game at home as a 38.5 point favorite, maybe you'll hey, screw the rhythm thing. Let's get him right. Because nothing has changed from what we talked about this week in that Kansas State BYU stretch. That's it. That's what's going to decide what's going on for you. And that's no shot at Oklahoma State or UCF or West Virginia. But those two games, you're going to sink, you're going to swim, and hopefully you're doing the butterfly, and you're doing. You're doing the Michael Phelps, and you're swimming like crazy, but that's where it's going to be decided. And so if that was moved up a bit, maybe you would alter this decision, or you would have a different mindset toward how we got to this decision. But all to say that we don't fully know the questions that are being debated internally, like or his health or his feeling or the risk of a recurrence or whatever. There's just a lot that we don't know, but because I'll say this too, and then I'll be done, Cowan, with my portion of this topic. But they likely already know.
First, today's episode brought to you by Quo. One of the tools that help make a large difference for business owners is Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table for your business. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. And Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications, working right through an app on your phone or computer. computer. No more carrying 2 phones or relying on a landline. You'll love their built-in AI agent as well. It's a game changer for answering after-hours calls, capturing leads, and keeping business moving, even when you're off the clock. Whether you're a solo operator juggling everything or part of a larger team, Quo makes it easy to stay responsive and professional. So see why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/lockedoncollege. And if you've got existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered, and it's quick, easy, and secure every time. Ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
They likely already know at this point in the week what direction they're going. It's probably internally not still up in the air, just because at the time that people are consuming this, they will have had arguably their 2 most meaningful days of practice and all that. And yes, I'm aware that Barron, a couple of years ago, that was a different scenario. 1, because the depth wasn't there. You didn't have a Will Hammond sitting there. And 2, you weren't competing for a conference championship at that point. You were just trying to keep your head above water, be competitive. He gave you the best chance and all those things. So it's a bit of a different dynamic this year, but I guarantee you they probably already know, just because Tuesday and Wednesday, that's really where the meat of your practice week comes in. Game plan installation on both sides of the ball, and the timing and everything is worked on. And if you don't go through those 2 days, it's a bit tricky.
Okay, so here I think, as those things remain somewhat up in the air, here I think is another angle to it that is definitely not up in the air, and that involves really who it's left to, I think, with either quarterback to carry the day, and that's the offensive line. That's the ground game. But another interesting intersection, Chris, when it comes to some timing and things going on with your team right now, if I'm understanding it correctly, it seems like the running back room has been trending towards thinner as well. And it began thin, but Jacoby Williams has been dinged up a bit, or at least limited. So I'm wanting to catch up with you on the state of that group as we hit another week. But also, what do you think about the thought that regardless of who's taking the snap, this needs to really be a day where you can lean on the big guys up front and lean on your ground game to carry a huge portion of the load?
Yeah, it is. I think Jacoby is fine. I don't think he's necessarily preseason 100% fresh or anything. I think he's being managed. It's just one of those things that this is why playing well really early and then saying, "Hey, Adam, come over here, go be Adam downhill in the second half and let's get out of here." That's again on our little script. That would, that's a good sidebar from a storyline. And it's funny because I think you will lean on your line. I think that you will want to run the ball. They're giving up 174 a game. It's like 105th in the country. They're giving up 38 points a game, which is, I think, 130th in the country. You know what else I'd like to see? Speaking of leaning on, I think you need to get back. Okay, so let's assume that this is Will Hammond's game. I'd like to see him air it out quite a bit too. I'd like to see your receivers get back into the fold. I don't think you'll have Terrence Carter in this game. But I'd like to see Caleb Douglas and Reggie Virgil and Coy Aiken do some damage too, especially down the field. I think Oklahoma State has had a problem with coverage mix-ups, and that they have given up, a variety of explosives in the passing game. So I'm just kind of looking for an offensive explosion. It'll be daytime. You won't have the pyro going off. There won't be a need for, a pause in the game with all the smoke sitting in the stadium at about, well, I don't know, we'll guess about 5:30 in between third and fourth quarter, because the sun will still be up. But you get what I'm saying. I think I'd like to lean on all these things offensively. I really wanted you to get everybody going and kind of, because it didn't feel good last week. Everything was difficult, and I'd like to get everybody back feeling pretty good about themselves, and then ultimately, not just Adam Hill. Let's see some of these young wideouts. Heaven forbid, how about we see Mitch Griffiths in there and break the seal on that in the second half and get Will Hammond out if you take care of your business. Again, assuming this is a Hammond game based on the availability report of Barron being questionable.
Couple things. I am struggling as a fan this week to not want to treat Oklahoma State like one of these early season games where I'm just already plotting out and planning my use of garbage time. I get it's 38. It's Oklahoma State. I mean, it ain't Arkansas Pine Bluff yet. I'm already, as a fan, struggling to not feel like, okay, we'll slot in this QB here, this guy here, this backup here, this guy here, third and fourth quarter, cruising.
They will, yeah.
I hope it goes that way, but
I get you.
I'm having a hard time with a Big 12 matchup.
They fought.
Kind of feeling that way.
Last week they fought. It was funny because Doug Meacham set up at the beginning of his press conferences, but he's the interim head coach, longtime Big 12 assistant. He was at TCU for years. He's been at Kansas, was at Oklahoma State years ago, and now he comes back. It's funny, too, because you know who's calling the plays at Oklahoma State now is Kevin Johns, who is a former Texas Tech assistant. He was here under the Cliff Kingsbury era. I think in Cliff's last year, great dude. But he got, Meacham was the play caller, and then as he took over as the interim deal, he sat up there and he's like, man, for 49-17 loss, man, I felt like we won. We just really competed and all the things. It was homecoming last weekend in Stillwater. I think that it was a full house. I think they fought. I think Cincinnati kind of fell in terms of the road atmosphere, but then they ended up winning 49-17. Okay.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State has got good players. They just don't have as many of them as you, anywhere near as many as you. They're trying to figure this out as they go. Half of those kids have one foot out the door. It's a weird dynamic. You may end up playing with your food for a bit here, a quarter or something, but at some point the dam will break. If you have and are the team that we think you are, this will be a big problem for Oklahoma State. They may be playing with the converted wideout at quarterback or a platoon system with their quarterback comeback who wasn't very good at all. There's just not a whole lot that, though. Again, any issue that goes on here, it really is, not to sound cliche, it's your fault.
Yes. Not
ours, but it'll be your look ahead, or you're not locked in, or you're letting last week bother you, or anything like that. If you come out pissed, just to use Joey's phrase, and he's curious how his team will handle the loss, you could put this thing away fairly early. And again, Rodney Fields is a really good running back. Okay, he went for 160 last week against Cincinnati. If he gets in the portal, he'll be highly sought after. Wendell Gregory is a really good edge guy. If he gets in the portal, he will be very highly sought after. There's just not a whole lot else that is there, and they're switching schemes, or they have no identity. So that's why I'm talking about it, and I totally get.
I get it. You're a 38-point favorite, man.
Yeah.
38. But I'm just I'm cautioning myself aloud more so than anything, maybe to wait till we get there to start slotting in my fourth quarter plans, which are extravagant. And that's the other thing I wanted to get to. The sun not set by third and fourth quarter. What are you talking about? We're going to be, I think you're underselling the combustion element, the smoked out element. Let's not dampen any hopes. We've already had our flour taken away. Let's not dampen any hopes, Chris, for as much or more combustion and smoke flavor to this event. We're going to be dark enough, I think, by the time we get to the third and fourth. Let's go. I hope we're popping something off. And if I know the folks I know, like I think I know the folks I know,
touche.
I think there'll be a lighter out there.
Okay, I got you.
And I know you want the combustion as much as I do. So
I'm here for more pyro, not less. There's 1,000%. I mean, if you want to inject pomp and circumstance and the glitz and glamour into my veins, I'm here for it. I love it. I mean, so yeah.
Almost had me double checking if I was going to hang around till the 4th that we weren't getting the.
I'm just saying. I hope we see lots of first half fireworks, literally of substance on the field. Is my
remember the Alamo. Remember Goliad, and of course, remember 66-6. Put it on, boys, if we have the opportunity. Okay, we're switching gears before we wrap this sucker up, Chris. First, today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else. And with a Mazda, you can make everyday drives feel like anything but, with smooth handling and intuitive controls. Plus, with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like the Red Raiders, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Grant McCaslin, Red Raider Hoops, preparing for a season opener, only really days away, and on the move this week for a Big 12 Media Day experience. We'll have some thoughts on some of what was said there on an upcoming episode, but wanted to touch base with you on something I've been seeing roll out. Couple different perspectives on Big 12 odds. And when you look at this team in Lubbock and a preseason top 10 ranking, and maybe a guy that could be a preseason national player of the year, I could not be any more excited than I am right now for this team in this season. Could be maybe the best in the history of the program. Conference odds rolling out. I see that we're looking up at a few, and it seems like consistently that is the perspective. In Houston and BYU, basically what I've seen slotted ahead of Texas Tech so far. I know that's no grand shock, but it's kind of a reminder of just exactly what this league has a chance to be again whenever you think about what we believe our guys are going to be, yet what some preseason league expectations actually look like.
I'm not so certain that – I'm going to say something that's really crazy here. I'm not so certain that in this era, because the sport has changed as we've seen, there's a lot of turnover each year. But when we take timing, that the Big 12 won't be better this year than it ever has been before as it relates to talent spread out across the conference. That's going to provide, or be provided that a lot of these guys stay healthy and all the things. But I mean, Kansas State has a potential player of the year candidate on their team in PJ Haggerty that I'm sure a lot of people are like, who's that? He played at Memphis. He's incredible. Now, their problem is they don't have a ton around him, but you've got potential for two guys that are freshmen that could be the number one player in the draft, and Darren Peterson for Kansas and AJ DeBonsa for BYU. These are both very likely one-and-done players that could be debated as the number one player picked, next summer. I mean, and then you go to all the different, holdovers. Like you have a guy like Richie Saunders at BYU who is a first-team All-Big 12 guy, and then a JT Toppin who is a first-team All-Big 12 guy. It's just it's a fascinating year. I don't disagree with all the Houston love. I just think you have a hard time making an argument against it. Vegas, preseason predictions, whether it's media, whatever, it's their league. They have dominated this league. They played in the title game. I will say that I feel like Texas Tech could have gotten a shot off in the last 30 seconds of the title game had they made it, but each his own. I just think that was my poor attempt to take a shot at Houston, but that's very hard.
No, I enjoy it. I like how often you bring that up, and I do agree.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, come on, man. 30 seconds and the ball doesn't even go up in the air. Like, what are we doing? I will say this about the two teams that you're looking at above you. they are going to be much younger than they usually are, much younger, leaning on freshmen. This is one thing that Kelvin Sampson has not really ever done before at this level, where he's leaned on so many freshmen. And I do think at some point they will, because I think there's probably going to be 3 true freshmen in their rotation and starting and all that. And that's a clear exception. I think they'll miss LJ Cryer and his ability to just score and pull a rabbit out of his hat at the end of the clock. I think BYU is largely the same. My question about BYU is, because they've got Saunders, they've got Devanza, and they've got Rob Wright, who came over from Baylor. So they've got a really good nucleus. They're very talented. My question is, I just wonder if their defensive chops are going to be there when it counts. This is going to be a team that can score and make things interesting and very talented. They appear to be well coached. I just don't know if they've got the defensive grit that it will take to like win the league or to finish above you. But this is Grant McCaslin's challenge with his own guys. You've recruited scoring. You're going to be able to shoot it and score and do the things. But it's who can get guys to buy in and play good defense team-wise, who can guard out on the perimeter when you're just on an island. And this is why Kelvin Sampson is different than everybody. His teams are going to do this, freshmen or not. I just think what may get them in trouble is, can they score? Can they do some things? Do they have an alpha like an LJ Cryer that can create and all those things? But this is why you get the nod to Houston right now, because they're going to play defense. It's going to be a pain in the ass to play against, but this is Grant's challenge with his guys, and he's talked about this. They just lost a scrimmage, 89-87. They're about to go play Iowa and have to guard Bennett Sturts again. We saw that up close in Wichita, Kansas. And you were able to guard that day for the most part when he was playing at Drake, because you had morphed into this really salty, very competitive defensive team. But it took a while. How quickly does it take this year? You've got more length. You've got more bodies to use. Grant has talked about he needs to be better in closer games about substituting offense for defense and maybe playing, worrying more about a possession at the end of a game. And you're going to get a lot of opportunities here when you're playing Illinois and you're playing potentially Purdue and Arkansas and LSU, and just keep going with what they've got in the non-conference. But, and then how healthy are you right now? I mean, he stated, Luke Bomboye, we hope to have him for the beginning of the season. He's got a lower body issue. This is the number 1 defensive player on the board, according to Andy Katz. And he talked about he will fix a lot of issues while we are sorting through things. His rim protection sorts it all out. Well, if you don't have him, I mean, you see what I'm saying? So sure. This is a defensive conversation, I think, on 1, 2, and 3 for different reasons. And I don't have a problem with Houston being where they're at. I do, though, maybe have a bit of an issue with BYU. But, again, it's semantics at this point. And you know where your last regular season game will be? At the Marriott Center in Provo, Utah, in front of 18,000 people, and it's like at 9:30 on a Saturday night. That place won't be hopping. So yeah, there you go.
Hopped up on sugar.
Yes, that's right.
I'm wondering, just kind of aloud, maybe what Grant McCaslin has learned along the way so far, because I know we all had high expectations. I just mean as a coach, or maybe some ways he's evolved or changed or adapted and whatever, whether it's off-season roster building or recruitment or what he does during a season in game. I don't know. I had very, very high expectations for him and this program when he got here. He has surpassed those by far. I think even for those really high expectations, Chris, you're a breath away from really getting to where you want to be, and that's back in a Final Four with a chance truly to compete for a national title last season. But I'm kind of reminding myself also, these are in some uncharted waters for him as well. I mean, I know this is where he had to believe he could get, but dang, you're there, or you're close to it. And I'm sure that's come with maybe some lessons for him also, and maybe the way that he goes about whatever. Still a young guy in this profession, and it kind of seems like he's grizzled at this point with some skins on the wall, but he's not that long in the tooth.
No, but he's very smart. He's been able to adapt. I think like the immediate challenges are, there's some staff turnover here. I mean, you lose 2 assistants that you leaned on heavily last year, and then you've promoted from within. You've hired some, Gocher's now in here as an assistant, and so how does the dynamic of the staff? Can you squeeze everything out of what you've got like the previous couple of staffs did? I think Grant too is interesting in that he's seen it at a variety of different levels, the junior college upbringing and all the lower levels of basketball. But it's hard to do this because it's easy to say it and talk about it, but because he's talked about some of these things aloud now, and if you've ever been over there or around there, you know that he really lives this. But this is like the hard part about being a coach. We have a good practice. I want a great one. We played good. I want you all to play great. And we're not trying to beat Lindenwood here. We're trying to beat Florida in the Elite Eight. And having that standard and knowing when you see, hey, man, we could just gloss over it. I don't want to pick a fight today. I just want to stay in my comfort zone. I've been riding these guys for a while. You see what I mean? And that's the dynamic that goes on daily with coaches like this that are trying to achieve something better and further and all the, and all that. And it's hard to live that way. Because it's like at some point you just like, God dang, man, is nothing going to be good enough in my own eyes? I'm just a miserable cuss all the time if I can't find any joy in what I'm doing. But there's something about being a competitor at this level in this league that you must continue to squeeze. And it's like, dude, it's a rock. There's no water to get out of it. And yet he's going to say to you, yes, there is. And if it's one drop, we must get it out of there. And that's what I think he's learned, especially at this level. And he will tell you too, we are extremely grateful and lucky to have had the resources that we have had to put together what we've got going right now, because they have a legit chance to compete, not just for the Big 12 title, but much further than that. But again, healthy, lucky, gelling at the right time, all the stuff that needs to come with it. And these are the challenges he's trying to maneuver right now.
Just around the corner, November 4, we're getting it started. Chris, appreciate a little time for the round ball and all the time in general, man. Enjoyed it this week. We got one more to go. We'll get into the mailbag on our final episode for the week before we ship you off to the weekend and try to get back on track from Jones Stadium Saturday evening. So looking forward to it, and we'll see you then.
Guns up. And again, we're in this thing together, people. Calvin and I, we're just along for the ride like the rest of you guys, but we'll be here together with you to break it all down. And Oklahoma State is going to pay for there's some consequences at stake this weekend. I firmly believe that. Barron, Hammond, whatever, let's roll.
You will pay for what Arizona State has done, and that's the way it can work. We're back to transitive properties in college football. There you go for the bingo scorekeepers out there. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time, and make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss a thing. And of course, appreciate the everydayers for always riding along, and the Matador Mob. Hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text straight to your phone. And we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.